The field comes off of corner number 4. Jeff Bodine leads them across. The green flag is out, and the first Union 400 is underway from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Well, we have seen Jeff Bodine experience problems the last couple of races at the start of the race, but that was not the case today, as he was leading coming off of corner number 4, and he is going to lead lap number 1.
Richard Petty trying to get under the Tim Richmond automobile, which got by him on the start. Richard was alongside of him down in 1 and 2 and takes the spot away. Earnhardt trying to follow him through on the inside.
So Richard Petty moves into second. Dale Earnhardt now into third. And Joe Ruttman sneaking up into fourth position as Tim Richmond is lagging behind here after a good start and falling into second spot. He's now back to fifth.
Richmond just doesn't seem to be working. Bodine got the start over Richard Petty, and Richmond, you can see him getting a little bit out of shape once again going through turns 1 and 2. He had second place. He held back the whole field, but now everybody is getting by.
Jeff Bodine off of corner number 4, leading the race with Richard Petty in second. A lot of traffic behind the front runners, but everybody in good shape so far. It's a tight 5/8 mile racetrack that they run on. There is Darrell Waltrip trying to move up on the outside.
On the outside, and we already saw Tim Richmond's right on the outside. He couldn't go any place, but Waltrip is making some headway out there. Here he's alongside Richmond as he come off turn 4.
And he is trying to move into 7th position. Right now, Tim Richmond is in 7th, and Darrell Waltrip in 8th. But Waltrip on the outside, running door handle to door handle with Tim Richmond. They come off the second corner and go down the back stretch, and Darrell Waltrip does move into 7th position. Now Terry Labonte wants to pass Tim Richmond.
What Tim Richmond needs is a caution flag here in the first 10 laps. Something is just not exactly the way it was all week long, and particularly yesterday when they qualified. Benny, there is Joe Ruttman. He just passed Earnhardt. He's running well.
Joe Ruttman last week at Darlington had a good run, and here again today. Third spot. Great beginning for Joe Ruttman.
Well, you remember last weekend when Joe Ruttman moved up into a high place right at the beginning of the race was partially caused by the Jeff Bodine problem at the beginning, but this week he is just moving up very quickly on Richard Petty as we watch Terry Labonte, who is currently in 8th spot.
It's Bodine, Petty, Ruttman first 3, then Earnhardt, Bonnet, Kyle Petty, Waltrip, Terry Labonte, Tim Richmond, Bobby Allison, Kenny Schrader's up there, then Bill Elliott. Let's see who else is up there. Next is Rusty Wallace, and then Jody Ridley. Those are the top 15 cars or so at this very early point.
Bobby Allison there running between Tim Richmond and Ken Schrader. A good starting position for Bobby Allison. He was the 6th fastest qualifier, checking in with a 1:11.627. We should say Grandpa Bobby Allison. His daughter had a baby just a couple of days ago.
Benny, the interesting thing about this year, the story has continued this week. Everybody agrees there must be at least 15 cars who can win this race. There is definitely not anywhere near a clear-cut favorite.
No, there isn't a favorite. Richard Petty, I think, is the sentimental favorite. As you mentioned, Jeff Bodine took the pole away from Richard Petty. He really hated to do it. I think if Richard has a shot with the last 50 miles, certainly they're not going to give it to him, but when it's over, if Richard Petty could win the race, I think everyone would say good for him.
Yeah, Jeff told us yesterday, right after he took the pole from Richard, that he actually thought about it during his qualifying run. Gee, this is Richard's best chance in like 6 years. Do I really want to do this? But he said, the professional I am, I had to go for it.
But look at Richard Petty. He's only 2 car lengths behind Jeff Bodine. He was 15 just a couple of laps ago. And we see the damage. The damage on the right front of Richard Petty's car. He hit Tim Richmond the first lap of the race, which caused that damage, but it doesn't look to be severe enough to have to make a pit stop.
And Richmond is out of shape, and turn number 2 almost spins coming off of the second corner. Let's go down to Jack Arute, who has more on this Tim Richmond problem.
Bob, here's the situation on Tim Richmond's car. They thought at first he might have a tire going down, and that was causing it to be very, very loose. They surveyed it for about 4 laps and it went by their pit station. And they said, no, the tire's not going down. But they did set the car up with loose springs, and Benny Parsons can tell you more about that. That could be the problem right now.
Well, how about it, Benny? How do you set a car up for North Wilkesboro?
Well, I think that this weekend has been a very unusual weekend because they're running a tire combination unlike anything they've ever used before. No one really knows what springs to run. I think that a lot of cars are going to have the same problem that Richmond has, that's trying to spin out or get loose coming off the turn. I don't think Tim Richmond has a problem right now, but I think we're going to see the problem with everyone before it's over. Look at Richard Petty, Bob.
He's off of corner number 2 and challenging Jeff Bodine for the lead as they go down the backstretch and into corner number 3. Richard Petty to the inside of Jeff Bodine, and they touch coming off of the 4th corner, and they cross the start-finish line side by side. I believe Bodine had the slight advantage on that lap, but let's see what Richard does now as they once again come off the 2nd corner. Petty pulls ahead of Bodine.
Bob, I got to tell you that, Benny, I have not seen the NASCAR fans be this excited in a long, long time. This reminds me of being in Brazil when the home country people were cheering Ayrton Senna. The fans are going wild.
You know, Bob mentioned at the top of the show there's 18,000 seats here, and I think every one of them cheered when Richard Petty went by.
I think you're right. A tremendous round of applause for the king, Richard Petty, who has been so good this weekend here at North Wilkesboro. He's leading Jeff Bodine now as we've completed 17 laps of this 400-lap race at North Wilkesboro.
Another guy who's running into the top 10. I think we missed him on the rundown a few laps ago. Those of you who are from the Chesapeake, Virginia area wonder, hey, where's Ricky Rudd? Well, he's in there. Petty continues to lead. Bodine is second. And by the way, Joe Ruttman has closed up. Joe Ruttman is only a couple car lengths behind, but Rudd's also still competitive today.
Richard Petty's starting to wiggle just a little bit off turn 4, a sign that his car is getting loose, not as perfect as it was the first couple of laps.
There are your first 3. Richard Petty leading Jeff Bodine in 2nd position, and Joe Ruttman is in 3rd. 4th would be Neil Bonnet. In 5th place, Dale Earnhardt. 6th is Darrell Waltrip. 7th is Kyle Petty. 8th, Terry Labonte. 9th, Bobby Allison. And in 10th position is Ricky Rudd. Now the leaders already approaching some of the slower traffic down the backstretch. They move high and pass Rick Baldwin driving car number 64. Now they approach Jimmy Means in 52 and Willie T. Ribbs, who's driving that white car number 30.
You know, as we watch Richard Petty, think about this, Benny. How many people watching this broadcast are under the age of 28? It was 28 years ago that Richard Petty first showed up at this racetrack as a Winston Cup driver.
Oh, that's unbelievable. He's been doing it so long, and yet 28 years later, he's leading this event.
Isn't that something?
Randleman, North Carolina's Richard Petty. We had an opportunity to talk to him earlier this weekend about his chances for winning here.
Will tomorrow's race be your best shot at victory since, as President Reagan calls it, the firecrack 402 years ago?
Well, I don't know. Right now, yeah, we're sitting in the best position to start a race that we have since then. So, from that standpoint, we feel pretty good. But we ran the short track program's going to be better because we ran good at Bristol and the driver give out. And I think that if we keep everything together here, I think this is one of our better racetracks. So from that standpoint, we should be in good shape.
He's in good shape right now. He's leading Jeff Bodine and Joe Ruttman in the Union Bank 400 from North Wilkesboro, and now Joe Ruttman beginning to challenge for 2nd position. He's high on the racetrack, moving alongside Jeff Bodine. Good racing here in the early stages of this event. We'll be back to have more in just a moment.